Happy International Women's Day. I'm so honored to have a chance to celebrate with you. I think we are so worthy of celebration. Women are wonderfully different. Our bodies are different, our brains are different, and that may sound really obvious, but it's something that medicine has only really acknowledged in the past few decades. I want to talk about autism. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think of a couple of people who have autism. Were they all boys? Was it Sheldon Cooper and Rain Man? Autism is a neurological disorder that affects men and women differently. It was thought to be a boy's disease, first described in the early 1900s, and only included as a differentiated diagnosis in the DSM-3 in 1980. It causes social, emotional, and communication issues, and as we understand that there is a spectrum of disorder, what's happening is there are boys all along the spectrum, but the only girls are in the most extreme end. People are starting to think that the diagnostic criteria is gender biased. A smart, sensitive boy who's quiet and withdrawn needs help to reach his full potential. A smart, sensitive girl who's quiet and withdrawn, she gets patted on the head and told she's a good kid. I have autism. It's something I was diagnosed with at age 40, and it's been really validating to feel less weird and more wonderfully different. But I'm also mourning for how my life may have been different if we knew earlier, if I'd had access to services, if I'd had a therapist who could help me understand that the world wasn't made for me. So, in a radical show of vulnerability, I'm going to tell you some stories from my childhood that in retrospect feel so autistic. And I want to tell you that this is being videotaped during COVID, so there's not really an audience here, and I want to give you full permission to laugh at these stories. You may hear silence, but know that I think these stories are funny and it's okay to laugh at me, with me. Here we go. When I was 8 years old, I was standing in line at the grocery store with my mom and dad, and I saw a headline that said, "Killer bees are coming to America." And it was in all caps, bold letters, with a map that showed the trajectory of how they were going to move north and east. And in the few seconds that I stood there, I did a little mental math and calculated that those bees were going to descend on my home when I turned 15. So I went home, and every night for months, I prayed to God to stop the killer bees. And I really obsessed over it. I just wanted to see my 16th birthday. Autistic girls can have a hard time understanding when something isn't literal. I could not for the life of me imagine that a publication about the migration of insects could be hyperbole. They also can fixate on things and catastrophize negative events. When I was 10, the popular girls in my class made a club, and I wanted to be in the club so bad. And it seemed like just when I understood the criteria to get into the club, the criteria would change. So I studied them at recess, watched how they behaved and what they liked and didn't like, and I noticed that they all had New Kids on the Block t-shirts. So I asked my mom to buy me a matching t-shirt, but it wasn't enough to get into the club. So I heard about a contest where if you won, the New Kids on the Block would come to your school and do a free concert. And I thought if I could just win that contest, that I would be in the club and maybe be the president of the club. So I did something I'm very talented at, which is writing, and I wrote the New Kids on the Block. And I wanted to get their attention because I knew they were going to get a lot of letters. So I sprinkled in a little bit of sensational gossip and told them I was being abused at home. I was not being abused at home. And I did not get the attention of the New Kids on the Block. I did get the attention of my teacher and my parents and Child Protective Services. I also did not get into the club. Girls with autism are different from boys in that they crave acceptance in a way that boys might not. So they're called little psychologists because they will study people that they think are socially accepted and try to mimic those behaviors. They may also not understand the consequences of their behavior. When I was 11, a new teacher moved into my small town. She had a Florida accent and she liked science, and I thought maybe she was the most interesting person in the whole world. So during the day, I would dream up questions for her, and every night after dinner, I would call her and pick her brain. Girls with autism may get bored in school. They may have advanced interests, and they may prefer talking to adults. When I was 12, I went to a multi-day conference. You know how sixth graders are. And the reason that I wanted to go is because I had a big crush on one of the presenters there. I thought we had so much in common. We both liked the same things. He had a wife and a kid, and I had a mullet and was 12 years old. But I didn't know how to handle the emotions. So I did a little research and found out that when girls like boys, they make eye contact with them. So I went to his workshop, and I sat in the front row, and I looked at him like this. And I tried not to blink because I wanted him to know that I was interested. Yeah. Girls with autism may have very focused interest to the point of obsession. They are probably going to have a hard time during puberty because they don't understand the rules of relationships. They can be kind of dangerous. They could be taken advantage of because they don't know what love is or how it works with different people. When I was 14, my very best guy friend sat next to me in French class. And he looked over at me one day sheepishly and said, "Jam 2." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Jam 2?" And I said, "I don't understand." And he whispered, "I love you." And I cackled right in his face because he had misconjugated that verb. Girls with autism may not react the way that you think they would. They may really underreact. They may really overreact. They may also be fascinated with foreign languages and be a real stickler for rules. So why would I put my soul out there like this? Why would I share this much? It could be because people with autism overshare to the point of making other people uncomfortable. It could be because autism is my special interest right now, and I will talk about it with anyone, anywhere, at any time. But really, it's because I wondered who might find this talk. I wondered if a parent who just had a daughter diagnosed with autism would see this and wonder if she's going to be happy. Is she going to be okay? Is she ever going to fit in? And I want you to know that the girl who had super fixated interests, who wanted to talk to adults all the time, became a woman who is fixated with making money, not afraid to talk to senior leaders. And the girl who made the conference weird still weaponizes eye contact, but I do it to challenge the status quo and drive change on a global scale. The girl who didn't know how love works has been happily married for 17 years, and I have a wonderful daughter. Hi, Aves. But I want you to know that I don't fit in, and your daughter won't either. Autistic girls were not made to fit in, they were made to stand out. So help her. Figure out what she's interested in. Make sure that you help her find communities of other people who are interested in those things. It's never been easier because of the internet. Get her a therapist because she may feel like an alien on this planet. I also thought that this talk might reach one of the many women who are being diagnosed now later in life with autism. And I just wanted to be the first to say, I love you and welcome to the club.